everyone, and welcome to today's video. Now, you have decided that you want to create videos for your company or even just for fun, but you don't know where to start, and it can feel daunting and overwhelming when you've never done video before, to just dive in. So today I want to share with you 5 steps, 5 things that you can do before even shooting a video that can help you make the whole process easier and make sense, and make sure that your video at the end of the day is of good quality and you're delivering the content in the best way possible. So without further ado, let's jump in. Step 1 is to be very clear about the what. What is your video about? What question are you going to be answering? What problem are you going to be solving in your video? And you want to write an outline for the content of the video. To know in which order you're going to say what, make sure that the order of your content and the way you're delivering it is coherent, and that you're not missing anything. So it doesn't have to be anything super in-depth. It could just be keywords. I know some people do scripts, and there's nothing wrong with doing scripts, but you do have to be careful when you're doing a script to not sound too robotic when you are, shooting and delivering the content to the camera. So my tip for you would be that if you're doing a script, to be mindful of that, and to also leave a bit of room for improvisation just so the video looks more authentic. So as an example, while I'm shooting this video, I actually have the outline of the video that I put together before shooting this. Step number 2 is, what is the video going to look like? And this is important because depending on what you want the look to be, the type of shots that you might need and the way you're going to be shooting might differ, and it might change some of these following steps that I'm going to mention. You want to figure out, are you going to be talking to the camera like I am right now? This is a pretty easy shot to set. It doesn't require a lot of technology to make it work, but it's very different if you have, for example, an interview and you have 2 people on camera. Are you going to be doing for example, speed painting if you're an artist, and then you're going to have a voice over the painting where you're explaining what you're doing? All of these things are going to come into play, so it's important to figure out ahead of time what the final look of the video will be. Now that you know what your video will look like, you can move on to step 3, which is making a list of the shots that you will need. Now, I used to skip this when I first started doing videos, particularly with vlogs, and I would just shoot everything and would end up with hours of footage that I would have to go through and sort through to determine which ones would make it into the video or not. When you make a list of shots, it's a lot easier when it comes to editing to make sure that you have what it needs and that the shots that you have are actually useful and, serve a purpose for that particular video. The other reason why it's useful to have a list of shots is that it can also help you determine what gear you will need, and that is step 4. So for step 4, you go through your list of shots and you see what gear you need to make this video work and to make it look the way you want. So for example, you're shooting a travel video again, and you want some aerial shots. Well, you might need a drone to do that. If you have an interview and you have 2 people, you might want more than one camera to make sure that you have close-ups of the faces of the people talking when they're answering a question. You might also want to make sure that there are more than one mic to make sure that you can hear both persons talking, or more if there's more than one person, being interviewed. But these are things that you want to think about. The other important point too that I want to make here is that obviously you have to be mindful of budget. If you have a big budget and you want to splurge and buy all the gear you can, sure, go ahead, do that. But know that you don't need to. And you can make things work within your budget. When you're starting, very often you don't have a budget for this. You're just doing it with what you have, and that usually is your smartphone. Luckily, Smartphones today are actually very good for video, and most of them shoot full HD video, which is what you would want to make sure you have. And my tip would be, if you're going to shoot on an iPhone and you have a little bit of money that you want to play around with, buy a microphone for your phone. Because the sound is not always great, and that is something that can be annoying when you're watching a video with bad sound. So I would just recommend, there's one that exists that's called the Rode Video Micro. That's around 60 bucks, and you can just plug it on your iPhone or Android phone, and it will improve greatly the quality of your sound on the smartphone. For this video, as you can tell, I am talking straight to the camera, so I only have one camera, and I am currently using a point and shoot. So because it is a point and shoot, it doesn't have the ability to have an external microphone plugged in, so the sound that you're hearing is the sound from the camera. In addition to the camera, I have lights, and I have multiple lights. I bought a while ago, probably 2-3 years ago, this umbrella light kit that I will link below, and I bought it on Amazon. It wasn't extremely expensive, and it's something that can help you improve the quality of your videos, particularly if you're shooting inside. Last step number 5 is to plan where and when you're going to shoot the video. And I want you to think of 3 factors when you're doing that, which are light, sound, and time. You want your video to be well lit. You want people who are watching the video to be able to see what they need to see. So if you're going to shoot indoors, for example, you have a window that has enough natural light where you don't need artificial lights like the ones I have here. If you're going to shoot outdoors, for example, keep in mind what time of the day it is, because if it's noon, the sun is going to be right above your head and it's going to cast much harsher shadows. So there's actually something called golden hour, which is right after sunrise and right before sundown, and the light is a lot softer and warmer, and usually photographers love to use that light because it tends to give a beautiful look to pictures. It also works for video. Another tip when you're shooting outdoors is actually to shoot on an overcast day. Now, you might not be able to pick what day you're shooting, so you might have to work with what you have, but it's actually a lot easier to manage light in an overcast day where you know, you don't have clouds coming in and out of the sun and the light changing during the video. When it's all cloudy all the time, the light tends to stay the same. When you think about sound, there's nothing more annoying than a video with terrible sound. So you want to make sure that people can hear you, or can hear, you know, whoever is speaking that you're shooting. So make sure, you know, if you think about, if you're going to shoot outdoors, is it going to be crowded? Is it going to be loud? When it comes to time, you also want to keep in mind how much time you have to shoot the video. So for example, you might be renting a space to shoot the video and only have a few hours to do everything you need to. Or you want to have a specific type of light, and you know that the moment golden hour is over, you won't be able to get the shots that you want. So or for example, if you need to travel or go somewhere for some of the shots and it takes you a few hours to get there, then the time that you have there might not be as much as you would if you were shooting right in front of your house. So keep all of these things in your mind when you're planning where and when to shoot. I know this might seem like a lot of work to shoot a video, but believe me, you will save time in the long run and you will feel a lot less overwhelmed when you're shooting and editing than if you didn't do all of these pre-work in a way. I hope these 5 steps are useful to you, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything you would add, or if you shoot a video following these steps, put a link so I can go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!